Hello everyone and welcome to the first module in Phase 3 of the Regional Community Childcare Development Fund supported Positive Behaviour Support in Early Childhood modules. We're now looking at teaching self-regulation, self-control and the use of sensory supports. You can see this is the first of the Phase 3 modules for today. We'll look at the critical importance of teaching self-regulation, and then we'll look at how we can add additional supports, particularly for social skills instruction, and highly intensive support planning using Prevent, Teach, Reinforce for young children who need a lot of support to be successful at their behaviour. We'd like to gratefully acknowledge the Pyramid Model and pbis.org, as well as the Challenging Behaviour website that you will see referenced frequently through this presentation for all of the wonderful resources that they provide and all of the great sources that they put on the internet for free. We wanted to start by showing how this practice of teaching children self-regulation and self-control skills, how that fits into the national standards for early childhood. So in particular, they fit into 5.2.1, in particular modelling for children explicit strategies for play and assisting and supporting children when they're having difficulty understanding or communicating with one another. In addition, 5.2.3 is also important here, and services may use the teaching of self-regulation to demonstrate how they're exceeding these standards, in that we're consistently guiding all children's behaviour in ways that are focused on supporting children to develop skills to self-regulate. So you can see that this practice is very consistent with the national quality standards. The practice of teaching self-regulation is also consistent with the early years learning framework. In particular, it refers to outcome 2, children are connected to and contribute to their world. In particular, 2.1, learning about belonging. Specifically, children having skills to tell someone when they don't like what is happening. So that's a key skill in part of self-regulation, is the ability to. So a question I would like you to consider as we go forward in this module is, how would you define self-regulation? What would you say are the skills and abilities and components that make up that component of self-regulation? I'd like you to press pause on the video for about 1 minute. Turn to the person next to you and discuss what are some of the components of the concept of self-regulation. So press pause now. Welcome back. So self-regulation includes a lot of different elements, and there are many models of self-regulation. What I'm presenting to you now is just one way of thinking about self-regulation. But when you look at the concept of self-regulation, it's actually quite a complex set of skills that children need to master in order to be able to have good self-regulation skills. I think they include the ability to notice what you are feeling, so being connected to your emotions, the ability to name that feeling, the ability to stop yourself from doing a not okay behaviour. So your crocodile brain may be saying, I'd really like to smack that person who took my block, but to be able to stop yourself from doing that behaviour. Once you've stopped yourself from doing a not okay behaviour, then you need to be able to choose from a menu of okay behaviours. And this will require you to have the ability to choose an option, but it will also require you to have a good understanding of things that are okay to do when you experience emotional difficulty. As well as knowing the things to do, a child must also be able to do the okay behaviour, to do the things that we require them to do in order to be socially successful. So you can see that while self-regulation is just a 2-word phrase, it actually requires quite a lot of skills out of children. So we need to be aware of how many things we have to teach our kids in order to support them with their self-regulation skills. I want to use the term emotional literacy for the beginning skills of self-regulation, specifically understanding your emotions and being able to put a word label on them. So emotional literacy is the ability to identify, understand and express emotions in a healthy or socially appropriate way. And emotional literacy teaching is a very valuable thing that we can do for children. Children who have good emotional literacy have a whole heap of positive outcomes. They are healthier, they are more focused, and they have a whole lot less of the negative things. They're less impulsive, they're less lonely, they have fewer destructive behaviours, they get into fewer fights. This is a good thing. So the time that you will spend teaching your children emotional literacy, how to identify emotions in themselves and others, is going to be very valuable for increasing their chances of success, not just now in early childhood, but also going forward in their lives. The things we need to learn about our feelings, there are a number of different skills that we want to learn. Oops, sorry, that happens all the time. Firstly, we want to recognize and relate to other people's feelings. We also want to have a specific emphasis on anger and understanding anger in oneself and understanding anger in others. Kids who can recognize and also appropriately express anger are much more likely to be socially and behaviorally successful. We also want to learn how to calm down, so a series of steps that a child can take to actually calm down rather than just magically calming down when an adult says calm down, which I don't think has ever actually happened in the world. And we also want to be able to recognize our own feelings and use our self-regulation ladder of skills. So self-regulation steps 1 and 2, noticing and naming the feeling. This component of emotional literacy is a rich area for teaching, using a variety of different skills: direct teaching, indirect teaching, the use of songs and games, the use of questioning techniques like how would you feel if, checking in at the beginning of the day, using things like a feelings dice and a feelings wheel, and also the use of children's literature gives us many, many rich teaching opportunities for teaching our children about emotional literacy. So some examples of things that you could use for direct teaching to increase the size of a child's feelings vocabulary would be things like these picture cues. So you could do a lesson where you put up different pictures on the interactive whiteboard or used posters and had the discussion with children about what do you think these children are feeling? Why do you think that? What is it about their face that tells you that they might be feeling that way? Look at what's happening with their mouth. Look at what they're doing with their eyes. And that will give you rich information to be able to differentiate different feelings from one another and increase children's feelings vocabulary beyond the simple happy, sad, angry that they may have. I love this version because it gives us the opportunity to look at a number of different emotions and for us to work with our local traditional owners to use dual language teaching, so perhaps English and the local language in the area that you are. So having two-way language teaching is a rich way to bring Aboriginal culture into our classrooms. This example I think is really quite cute. This is a teacher-supported check-in in the morning. Obviously this would need a teacher assisting the children. They wouldn't be able to quite do this themselves yet, but they have a mirror so the child can look at their own face, and they also have a number of different examples of different emotions and what they look like on people's faces. So the child can look at their own face with the adult support and then choose the face that they think looks most like how they're feeling at that time. I like this example of extending the feelings vocabulary beyond just happy, sad, angry to include emotions like proud. And I enjoy what they've done here because they have the feeling of proud, but then they have a number of different examples of things that the children have done that make them feel proud. So this is to teach the link between our emotions and the reason why we have emotions, because they give us information about the world that is around us. So some really rich teaching of emotional literacy going on there. We can also use indirect teaching strategies when children are in unstructured play. So language like, oh, Tamika and Tanya seem really happy to be playing it together. They keep hugging each other. That use of emotional language provides valuable labels for children for the emotional experiences that they're having. You can also play different games. How does your face look when you feel proud, and getting children to pull those faces? Or what makes you feel proud, and getting children to share the things that make them feel proud. You can also do the maker and then insert name of emotion there, face. So they have a number of different emotions here. These are written in Spanish, but you could write them in the local language that is appropriate to your setting. and you can get the kids to have a go of trying to make that face and think about what does that actually look like. If you have older children, you can also play games like bingo with different emotions that you may have taught the children. And you can also use things like feelings faces on as part of a memory or matching game. So this again is another opportunity to increase the vocabulary that children have and increase their awareness of the different expressions that people make when they have different emotions. You can also use a check-in strategy. In this example, the teachers and the children have their names written on the different pegs that you can see around this board. And they have a number of different emotions which they have been learning about. So they've learnt what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. And when the child comes in the morning, they, with their parent, would put their name peg next to the face that they think best represents their emotions at that time. So this is a really nice emotional check-in in the morning for the kids and teachers, but it's also great for teachers in terms of escalation prevention. If you notice a little person is coming in and they're choosing a really uncomfortable emotion, like angry or sad at the beginning of the day, it's a great opportunity to check in with that kid individually and assist them with their emotional regulation so that you can hopefully prevent any kind of escalation happening later in the day. This is another example of check-in, emotional check-in. You can see the monkeys have the different emotions on their tummies, and staff and students have the opportunity to check in using their photos. And it's also totally okay to move your feelings around as the day changes, as kids experience different emotional states. You can use feelings wheels and feelings dice to play a number of different games. Which feeling do you think the character in the book might be feeling? Or roll a feeling and pull that face for me. Many of these resources are available on the Challenging Behaviours or pyramid model websites, so that you don't have to create them, you can just print them, which certainly makes things a lot easier, and we are very grateful to them for putting those resources on the internet. Further links are at the end of this presentation. Children's literature is a rich source of wonderful books about different emotional states and about people using different strategies to self-regulate and to manage their emotions in socially appropriate ways. They have lots of examples and non-examples of how we do it and how we don't do it. So they're a really great teaching tool, and you can see on that link that is at the bottom of the page there, that is available to you if you go to the PDF version of these slides. Then you can just copy that, paste it straight into your browser, and it will take you straight there to the list of children's books. And there are many, many books that are a fantastic teaching tool. So I've shown you a whole heap of resources, and I'd like you to just pause the video for a moment and have a discussion based on these two questions. What emotional literacy resources do you have and are you using already? So share successful practice. And what emotional literacy resources would you like to access? What are some things you think you could add? So I'd like you to press pause on the video now for about 5 minutes, have the discussion, then press play again when you're ready. Welcome back. So step 3 and 4 in our ladder of skills that are required for self-regulation are the ability to stop oneself from doing a not okay behaviour and an ability to choose an okay behaviour from a menu of options. And there's actually a lot in this, and you might know some adults that have difficulty with it. I know that I do. So they're incredibly important skills for us to teach children that can really help them to be more successful in their current and later lives. Controlling anger and impulse is really important because it helps children recognise that anger can interfere with problem solving. We can teach kids to learn how to recognise anger in themselves and also in others. We can teach them to learn how to calm down. I like that it's a how, it's a set of steps, and understand appropriate ways to express anger. So it's not that we don't want kids to ever be angry. Angry can be a really valid emotion. It is a signal about what's going on in our environment. But we want kids to learn the okay ways to express anger so that they can have more success in their social worlds. So a well-recognised technique for teaching children the stop and calm down step is the turtle technique. This originally comes from the PATHS, or Promoting Alternative Thinking Strategies curriculum, and it has 4 steps which we can teach to kids. On the next page I will show you a hyperlink with a book version of this, which is a great teaching tool, but for now I'm just going to explain the strategy. So we start on the top left with recognising that you feel angry. So this is why it's of critical importance to teach children about emotional awareness first of all, because they need that to be able to do this step, recognise emotions in yourself. Then step 2, we teach children to think stop, and we teach them to think on purpose. When you feel angry, think stop. You can do that by thinking of a stop sign, you can do that by thinking of someone holding up a hand in front of you, but we want kids to learn that you can think on purpose, which is a new idea for many kids. Then the strategy is to go into your shell. So we teach children to go into the shell by holding themselves around the arms so they get that nice deep pressure feeling, and it's also an alternative to using your hands for hitting. Then we teach children to take 3 deep breaths and think calm coping thoughts. When we teach the breathing strategy, it is important that we teach children to breathe in through your nose slowly and then out through your mouth slowly. The reason for that is because there's a nerve that goes from your brain down the back of your throat and into all of the different organs in your guts and torso. And when you stimulate that nerve by breathing slowly in through your nose, you give your body calming down signals by stimulating that nerve in the back of your throat. So when you breathe in slowly and deeply, your brain gives your body signals to slow your heart rate down a little bit, slow your breathing down a little bit, and relax all your tummy and guts. When we do the opposite, when we breathe in short and fast through our mouths, which often kids do when they're really, really upset, that also stimulates that nerve, but not in a calming down way. That stimulates that nerve to go, oh my goodness, fight or flight, I'm not getting enough oxygen, I'm breathing really fast. So it makes your heart beat faster and it makes you feel more tense. So that's why we need to inhibit our natural response, which is to breathe fast, and to deliberately teach the children to do something else instead, which is take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and do that a few times. You can teach 3 times. You can teach more times than that if that's what the child needs to be able to come out of their shell and then think of a solution. This is the story that I was mentioning to you. We have included this as a hyperlink on your handout where you can find a copy of the turtle story that Rochelle Lentini has written. We're very grateful for her for placing this resource on the internet so that we can use it. It's called Tuck a Turtle Takes Time to Tuck and Think, and it's ready to go as a PDF that you can just press print and then use it as a teaching story with the children. So thank you to her for having that there. You can use Tuck a Turtle to teach in direct whole group lessons, direct small group lessons, or direct individual lessons. Using the Tuck a Turtle story, using a turtle puppet if you have one. I particularly like what this teacher has done. They've got the Tuck a the Turtle story, and they've also got the pinwheel on the right hand side with some little cards to help you remember how to tuck and think. The pinwheel is one of those things that spin around when you blow on it. So they've got this beautiful visual, which I really like. First, you tell yourself to stop, and then you smell the flowers. So breathing in through your nose, and then you blow the pinwheel. The advantage of having a pinwheel as a physical prop is that it will get children to blow all the way out when they do their out breath, because they'll be excited to see how far they can get the pinwheel to go for. The advantage of that is that when you are stressed, your lungs often don't fully exhale and you end up with dead or deoxygenated air in the bottom 2/3 of your lungs. If we can teach children to blow all of the way out, then the next time they breathe in, they get a full lungful of oxygenated air which they can use to get their brain to work, rather than their brain getting messages from a lungful of deoxygenated air that they're not getting enough to breathe. So if we can get kids to breathe in and stimulate that vagus nerve by breathing in through their nose slowly. And then we can get them to empty their lungs and blow all the air out by blowing the pinwheel. We can really help them to learn the physical skills for calming themselves down so that they can then go into problem solving. So I've again shown you some more materials, and they are fantastic resources which we are grateful for. I'd like you to turn to the people next to you and discuss these two questions. Firstly, how would this work in your service? And secondly, what kind of resources and staff preparation do you need to make this work well in your service? So press pause on the video now and talk together for about 5 minutes. Welcome back. It's important that we partner with families, partly because it's part of the National Quality Standards, but partly because that also helps children to learn more effectively when both childcare and home are giving the same messages. So we can partner with families by sending some of our really cool resources home. This is an example feelings chart that's going home to promote that emotional literacy in the home environment. And this is an example of sharing the turtle technique for calming down with parents. So you can see they've made this little interactive turtle that you can move his head and tail. So it moves when you pull it in and out, which is kind of cool. And on the back of it, it has the 4 steps in Tucker Turtle learning to tuck and calm down. So taking his big breath and going into his shell. So this is a great resource that you could send home to parents to show this is what we're doing to teach emotional literacy at school. It'd be great if you could use some of these strategies as well, and we think that they will help you. In addition, this wonderful website, challengingbehaviour.org, which we strongly recommend that you check out, has this Backpack Connection series, which is wonderful. They are pre-made newsletters or things that you can put in a child's backpack, hence the name, that you can just print out and send home, and it will save you all of the writing time, and the content is absolutely fantastic, and it really links to pretty much everything we do in positive behaviour support and teaching emotional regulation to young children, and they're designed for young children. So we strongly encourage you to use their website, and we're very grateful to them for making the resources so easily available to everybody. This is an example of a pro forma letter that you could create to send home when your children are really behaviourally successful. Dear parent, Billy did a great job today. So you could have space where the parent's name is, space where the child's name is, and a space for entering the specific behaviours that the child did well. Then the next paragraph is, you can help Billy, or you could leave that blank, leave the name blank. You can help Billy at home by, and then leave the space blank for what the parent can do to help their child to be even more socially and behaviourally successful. Thank you so much, and then the teacher's name. So if we have these kind of things written for staff, or blank versions with just fill in the gaps here, we can make it a lot easier to partner with parents by giving them that positive feedback about what their child has done well. So I'd like you to press pause again on the video here for about 5 minutes and discuss with the people around you what are some things you think would increase the partnerships that you have with parents. Press pause now. Welcome back. We're now on the 5th skill of our ladder of skills for self-regulation, and that is enacting the skill, so actually doing the behaviour that we think is going to be helpful to solve the problem and to calm down. So we need to teach specific skills and calm down strategies, and this is where sensory supports can be really helpful for us. A calm down place is a really great start, and I really commend services that have calm down places for their kids. Kids often want to go to a place where no one else is going to bother or interact with them for a little while, to take a break from too much sensory stimulation and give them the opportunity to calm down. They also may want to pull something over the top of them or hide under something for a little bit. Often they like to hide under the cushions or pull things around them. And that's absolutely fine. I think these are really beautiful examples, but I also think they're really beautiful examples. And by that, I kind of mean they're very, very pretty and attractive places. And I would worry a little bit that lots of the kids would want to be in this place all the time. So, my gentle suggestion would be to make all of the other areas of your room really, really beautiful and well decorated, but to make your calm down place a place that doesn't have a whole lot of stimulation, so that we meet the children's needs for a place to calm down and the ability to hide away if that's what they want for a little time, but we don't make it a super attractive place so that it's filled with lots and lots of kids. But having a calm down place is a really great start. As well as that, kids need to know the skills or the what to do whilst they're there. So I'd like you to share with the people around you, what do you already have in your room or your service that allows a place to calm down? And then to critically evaluate this space. What's working really well about it, and what could you potentially change about it? Press pause on the video now and talk for about 5 minutes. Welcome back. So in addition to having a calm down place, which is a great start, we would like to also teach a calm down routine. So this is the what to do instead. You can see from this example, which is also on your handout, that in this child has a visual that supports them with 6 different options of things they can do to calm down. Things that range from other people helping you, so getting hugs from a teacher, to things you can do yourself, like calming down. It's my great hope that Calming Kitty is a stuffed cat and not a real cat, because there would be some risks inherent in that. But if a child wants to stroke a stuffed animal or cuddle a stuffed animal, and that might be a calm down strategy, that could be a really valuable thing to include in a menu. This next menu of a calm down routine, or the things that the child can do instead, this is for a child who has given us the indications that they prefer calming down by themselves. Now, not all kids will. A lot of kids will want to co-regulate with an adult. But for kids who prefer to calm down by themselves, this is a menu of 5 different options that they can do. So instead of just calm down, in inverted commas, this kid's got some things to calm down with, or some activities to calm down by. So it's a lot more helpful to say to a kid, how about you do a puzzle, or how about you listen to some music, rather than just saying calm down. So providing the what to do instead is really critically important to kids being more successful in that skill of calming down. I want to go now to sensory supports, which is page 2 of your handout. And what are sensory supports? Well, they're physical activities or abilities to get sensation that might be calming, or they might be arousing, so rev your energy levels up, in order to support students in getting to a just right state for being in school, safe and learning ready. So I've given you the hyperlink where we found that reference for there. So sensory supports are tools that help kids to be more success ready. So they can be used to calm down and soothe, or they can be used to increase the child's energy level if it's a bit low. Assessment of sensory needs can be done a couple of different ways. We're really indebted to the occupational therapists, or OTs, for their knowledge and skills in this area, and we've learnt much from them about how we can provide kids with different resources to meet their needs. If you have access to an occupational therapist, then I would absolutely advocate that you use them and use their skills and knowledge to get a really good and detailed assessment of kids' sensory needs. However, if you don't have access to an OT, then don't underrate yourself as a source of knowledge about the child's needs. Your best guess about what the kid is looking for is probably very good. So I would suggest that you have a look at your handout with the sensory profile quadrants. We're very grateful to Winnie Dunn, who created this model of sensory processing in 1997. So the one I have on the screen now is similar to the one that is in your book. The quadrants are in the same places, but they've just got a little bit of different language there. I want you to think of a kid who engages in disruptive behaviours, not the really, really big unsafe behaviours, but frequent disruptive behaviours. and think about where might they be. Might they be sensation seeking? Might they be sensation avoiding? Could they be sensitive to stimuli, or could they have low registration? So think about what their needs might be. And then on the bottom activity, there's an empty, the bottom part of your page, there's an empty part of the continuum where you can think of what activities or what stimulations or what sensory supports that child might need to help them to be more successful at self-regulation. So I want you to think of a child, think of some of the behaviours that they demonstrate, and then with the person next to you, make a best guess about what their sensory needs and their sensory profile might be. Are they trying to seek, or are they trying to avoid? Are they sensitive, or have they got low registration? So press pause on the video now and discuss with the person next to you for about 5 minutes. Welcome back. The last thing that I want to discuss before we finish this module is the importance of teaching the correct use of sensory supports. If we just give a child a sensory tool, be it something like a disco sit or be it a fiddle toy, they can be a really fantastic support, but if we don't teach the child how to use it using tell, show, practice, feedback, then there is a very real chance that they'll end up becoming a projectile. So whilst sensory supports are fantastic, the most important thing about them is that they're used as a teaching tool. So we teach the children how to use them successfully to self-regulate.